Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Grow Through It podcast. My name is Julia, and today we are diving into body image, body dysmorphia, and the toxic thoughts so many of us struggle with. I wanted to do this episode because I've been feeling a little off lately. I've been feeling bloated, I have heartburn, and I never get heartburn, and I've just been feeling heavy and sluggish and like I've gained weight, even though I haven't. I think there's a couple different contributing factors to this. I started taking this hydration that Paul didn't like because mine ran out, so I thought I would just use it because he doesn't like it. And I think that might be part of the reason because that's the only really new thing I've added in. And getting heartburn when I never ever get heartburn is strange to me. So I feel like it might be the hydration, the electrolytes. So I'm going to stop taking them and see how I feel. I think another reason is I haven't been eating as clean as I should be and that I have been. I've been eating clean most of the time, but there's been a couple days where I've let myself give in to my cravings, and that's definitely not the best for my body. And then I think the last reason is just stress. I've been really stressed lately. I've been feeling behind on a lot of things, and I've been planning a surprise party for Paul's birthday. By the time this episode comes out, it will have already happened, but I've been planning this surprise for over a month now, and I'm so excited about it, but it's also like consuming my brain because of how excited I am about it and how worried I am that it's not going to pan out. So that's been on my mind a lot. And also just like getting the house ready and getting it cleaned. And then there's a bunch of stuff at work I've just been feeling a little overwhelmed about. So there's definitely a little stress there. So I think those are kind of the reasons I've been feeling weird. But I went to the dentist the other day, and I go every 6 months, so I hadn't gone in a while, obviously. And I think the girl who works there didn't see me the last time I was there, so it had been a year. And I think the last time she saw me was before I did 75 hard. And when she saw me, I was leaving, and she was like, "Oh my God, like, you look amazing." And I was like, "What?" I was genuinely so confused. And she was like, "You've lost weight. Like, you look so good. Like, are you okay? What have you been doing?" And I was just like so caught off guard because I have not been feeling like I've lost weight lately. And I've been feeling so like heavy and bloated and gross. So it like really caught me by surprise. I didn't even know what to say. But she was like, "Yeah, like I didn't even recognize you. Like you look so good." And it made me realize that even though since doing 75 hard, I have gained a little bit of weight. I've gained like 6 or 7 pounds, which I know doesn't seem like that much, but I think also I've lost a lot of muscle because I haven't been able to work out with my car accident. So I think even though it's only been like 6 or 7 pounds, it feels like more than that because I've lost the muscle and I have gained a little bit of fat. So it felt like I had like lost all my progress because I haven't been feeling as good as I did then, and I don't look as good as I did then. So I was feeling like, oh, I just like lost all my progress. But in that moment, I realized, no, I actually haven't lost my progress. I gained a little bit back, which actually is really normal when it comes to that kind of thing. But I still made a ton of progress through 75 hard. Like I still lost a lot of weight from 75 hard, and even though I've gained a little bit back, that doesn't mean I've lost all my progress. So I think that was a bit of a reality check for me, just coming back to like, oh, I should actually be really proud of myself for losing that weight and making that progress. And just because I am not quite where I am when I ended that program doesn't mean I'm failing. So part of this comes from the fact that I've struggled with body image issues and body dysmorphia for as long as I can remember. I talked about this in a past episode, but it all started with a gymnastics coach who told my mom I was too fat to be a gymnast. And I think I was about 5 or 6 years old at this time. I was not super heavy. I was maybe like a little overweight, probably not overweight for the average child, maybe for a gymnast. But he told my mom this, my mom told me, and that's kind of when it all started. And then I got bullied a lot in school for being overweight as well. Since I gained weight since then, I was a little bit heavier when I was younger, so I got bullied a lot in school. And this is really when I started to focus on my body. And I think just being a gymnast in general, you are very focused on your body. You're in like a tight leotard every day, and people are constantly correcting your body, touching your body, and focusing on your body form. And being around gymnasts, typically gymnasts are quite small and petite, so that definitely doesn't go unnoticed. When I looked up the definition of body dysmorphia, it said it's a mental health condition where a person spends a lot of time worrying about flaws in their appearance. These flaws are often unnoticeable to others. So for me, I am constantly thinking about my body. I'm always thinking about what I look like, how my stomach looks in certain clothes, how my legs look in shorts, what I should or should not eat next, if I'm bloated, comparing myself to the person next to me. The list really goes on. But I also know that the way I see myself doesn't always match reality. When I was in high school, I thought I was so overweight, especially in grade 12. I thought I was huge. Looking back, I was very tiny actually. Like looking at those pictures, I never thought I was that small. And that was like the biggest thing that opened my eyes to my body dysmorphia because I realized how the way I viewed myself in the mirror or in pictures was not real. So I know the way that I see myself doesn't match reality. Even now, I truly don't think I know what I look like. I often ask Paul if he thinks I looked like I've gained weight, and I often look at myself in the mirror and think I've gained weight, when in reality, I might just be bloated that day, or I just appear bigger than I actually am in my own head. But this can be super defeating and makes me feel really bad about myself sometimes. It's not always like this, although I am almost always thinking about my body, but sometimes I have really good body days. During 75 Hard, I actually, for the first time ever, enjoyed looking at myself because I could see the progress. But when I'm having bad body days, I avoid looking at myself in the mirror, especially when I work out, because I think that's the time that I look at myself most in the mirror because I'm watching my form. But it makes me feel like I haven't made any progress. I also know better, and I know the number on the scale isn't always a good measurement. And I know that it's normal to have some bloating here and there and hormonal changes. But my entire life was focused around food and weight loss and body image. So it can be very hard to get that out of my brain sometimes. There have been some mindset shifts that have helped me through this, though. The first one is progress is not the absence of bad body image days, but it's noticing them and not letting them dictate your choices. I don't know if my body image issues and my body dysmorphia will ever fully go away. I think I can improve it, but I think it's just important to understand where that's coming from and not letting it affect me as much. Also, reminding myself that bloating, hormone changes, and weight fluctuations are totally normal, especially for women. And I know I'm going to feel a bit heavier during certain phases of my cycle. So now instead of beating myself up when it's those times, I look at where I'm at in my cycle and trust that when I'm out of that phase, I will feel better because I consistently do feel better. Staying consistent with my workouts and eating habits has also helped me so much. When I do eat food that isn't super healthy and I give into those cravings, 99% of the time I regret it and realize the food seemed a lot better in my head than it actually tasted. I've been noticing that a lot lately. I never really used to notice that. I think I was kind of numb when it came to just eating bad food. But I feel like now I'm more in tune with my body. And I notice that when I order skip the dishes or I go through a drive through, I really don't feel good after. And the food does not taste as good. And don't get me wrong, I think it's totally okay to indulge sometimes and have those treats. But I also know I do it too often and it doesn't make me feel good. There's a reason I felt my absolute best during 75 Hard. Another reason I wanted to do this episode was because of a conversation I had with my athletes the other day. They have snack time in the middle of class because they're there for 3 hours. And this one day after snack, they were just crazy. They were not listening, they were fooling around, and it just wasn't like them. So I had a conversation with them at the end of practice and I asked, like, why do you guys think after snack you started to become kind of crazy? And we chatted about it and I came to realize that maybe the food that they're bringing is not beneficial to them. So I started talking to them about how food is fuel. And if they're bringing food that is just full of sugar or doesn't really provide any nutritional value, they're going to get really tired after break. And that's when they're going to kind of act out because they had said, like, well, after break, I'm really tired. And that's kind of when it clicked for me. So I said, if you're eating food that actually fuels you, you're going to feel so much better because food is fuel and food is supposed to give you energy. So you have to be eating the right foods to give you that energy to sustain yourself for the rest of practice. That's why we have break, to give yourself that little boost. But if you're eating food that doesn't serve you, it's going to do the opposite. And I realized I preached that to my athletes, but I should probably take my own advice and view food in that way instead of like either a good thing or a bad thing. It's more so what will give me energy and what will make me feel good. There's a couple other tools I have for navigating body dysmorphia. So, doing a self check in, asking yourself, am I reacting to how I feel or to what's actually true? So, thinking about, have I actually gained weight or do I just feel like I have? Because sometimes I feel like I'm like 30 pounds heavier. And obviously, you don't just gain 30 pounds in a couple days. And the scale is telling me that that's not true. And it's also just quite impossible. So instead of beating myself up and thinking like, oh, I've gained so much weight, starting to be realistic and thinking like, okay, have I actually gained weight or am I just feeling a little bit bloated today? Another thing you can do is journal or do voice notes to capture how you feel on the good days. And that way you can look back at it when your body dysmorphia kicks in. I've actually done some journaling a couple times when it came to my bad body image days and when I've given into those cravings. And I just talked about like, this food does not actually taste very good. It does not make me feel good. And I just feel worse after I eat it. And journaling that so I can look back at it when I am wanting those bad foods. And I shouldn't call it bad food, but honestly, sometimes it kind of is just that, bad food. So looking back on those days and realizing like I really don't need that if that's how I'm going to feel. But you can also do it the other way where you journal on the days that you feel really good. So I did a little bit of journaling during 75 Hard and I talked about how I felt and how energized I was and how good I felt and how happy I was. So I think that is a really important thing to do. Another mindset shift can be, what is my body allowing me to do today instead of how does it look? So Paul and I actually talked about this last night because I was feeling kind of bad about my body and he was talking about how He cares so much more about how my body functions rather than what the number on the scale says. He said that number doesn't really matter as long as you're feeling good and your body is doing the things it should be able to do. And he talked about how I've been having a lot of knee pain lately in both knees, and that's another really weird thing that's been happening lately. I don't know why my knees have been hurting so much. I've been doing knee physio every day, and I've been doing it for a while. Nothing has changed, but I've been getting weird joint pain in my knees. So he was talking about how that's way more concerning to him than if I've gained weight, even though he doesn't think I have. So that was another reality check of like, okay, what is my body actually capable of doing? And that to me is way more important than how I look. And although how I look is important to me, how I feel and how I move through life is much more important. I want to be able to do really hard things and be able to push my body, obviously once my injuries are better. And I want to be able to like have energy and be able to have fun with my kids and play sports with them when I have kids and keep up with him and go hiking with him and snowboarding. So that is so much more important. And I think that's a really good thing to think about when you're thinking about what your body looks like. So like I said, body dysmorphia does not just vanish, but you can learn to live with it more peacefully. If you are feeling really overwhelmed with all of this and your body image and you're going through a really tough time with it, I really encourage you to seek support and go to a therapist about it because that has also been really helpful for me. Your body does so much for you and it deserves kindness and respect even on the bloated days or the bad body image days. Have more gratitude for your body and thank it for all the things it does for you. I think having a better relationship with your body on that level will help with your body image. And lastly, my favorite questions to ask is when you're feeling bad about yourself and you're calling yourself names, you're calling yourself fat, ask yourself, would you say this to your best friend or your mother or your daughter or whoever it may be? What would you tell them if they were feeling this way? That is it for today's episode. Thank you so much for listening. If you have any questions, feel free to DM me on Instagram at growthroughit.pod, or you can use the link in the show notes to anonymously ask questions or suggest future topic ideas. If you enjoyed this episode, I would be so grateful if you would rate, review, follow, or subscribe, and share it with someone you think would benefit from it. Thank you again so much for listening, and remember that you are worthy. See you next time.